these athletes are going to give us to Tim Rea from Australia. So I just want to say all those athletes were excited to see what they have to offer, because guess what? Everyone at some point that gets to the top has to break through. So that could happen today, and it could be super exciting for us. Matt, as these guys and gals, there he is. That's our first place out of the water. First one to not have a wetsuit on. That is James Capparell from the USA. The time, 49 minutes and 52 seconds. What a show. That's an average pace of 1 minute and 1 minute and 19 seconds per 100 meters. Right behind him, Balázs Soke from Hungary. And then we've got Igor Amarelli from Brazil with the Canadian out of the water on their heels, essentially all together now. Brent McMahon. So watch these four men, Matt, and watch them go. This is going to be one of the fastest 400 meters they've ever done barefoot.
I was going to say our cameraman is going to have to tag off there, and he did, because that's going to be pretty hard to keep up with. Clearly you saw that Capparell did run a strong pace to the mat. Yes. That's the thing. People often think, oh, maybe it's the first person that touches. Forgot to take my swim skin off.
I call that the Rasmus Henning, former Danish superstar that rode the entire bike course in Kona with his swim skin on.
Quite hot.
A little bit toasty, too many layers. That's a wonderful shot looking down on transition one. Look at all those bags. Look at those swimming to bike legs. And that's Brent McMahon, the fastest man through T1 so far, and about to grab his bike from a volunteer and get out onto the course.
Yeah, I think you make a good point pointing out the difficulty early in the bike ride. Is it's actually, I think, helpful for athletes like a Balázs Soke or a James Capparell who have the capability of having strong, consistent races through the day, is if they're around a Brent McMahon and an Igor Amarelli and they nail that first 10K, it's like, okay, yeah, no, I'm not even going to try to ride with you. Where that doesn't put you in a spot where you're going to hurt yourself. What ends up hurting an athlete that's maybe overpacing is that athlete
drop in elevation here down that hill. This is the mountain line for James Capparell getting on the bike and getting after it. And remember, we've also got that it's technical by all standards in triathlon. Hard left, hard right. These twisty turns. Brent McMahon is about to go pop onto Main Street, where he will merge right here.
Athletes up front, like a Brent McMahon, Igor Amarelli, or if we get a Talansky to move across or Sam Long to move across, to be aggressive, right? When the conditions are hard, when it's hot, everybody knows that, yeah, you can throw a couple bombs, but you have to make sure that you're saving something, because your body might shut down in extremes, whether it's cold or whether it's hot. But when it's this pleasant, it can kind of get athletes to be a lot more aggressive, as we look at Brent McMahon on the bike.
Yes, BEAGGRESSIVE.
Wow,
that's just a cheer. Be aggressive. It's. I'm glad you brought that up, Brent McMahon. We this is now's the time when
we're coming up on that challenge.
Yeah, so
it's going to happen.
And so and it's. I do think that also each of these two guys, Joe Gambles knows it, but Joe Gambles is throwing caution to the wind because I think that's a very interesting thing. And we come back to Joe. You pointed out that he had that super high arm carriage. His angle of his elbow was real tight, and now he's dropped way down and showing that fatigue. But what I see with Brent, I really do see a very, very similar arm carriage to what we saw an hour ago, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. And he looks comfortable. And again, I think it's the fact that, he didn't bonk. He didn't have, he didn't...
dry spell, and you can see the emotion on the young man's face. Matt Russell, he's back from a devastating near fatal accident only 19 months ago, and now he has become the Viewsport IRONMAN Lake Placid champion. Let's get down to that finish line and hear it from Riley.
It's Roy Gilly in it. Get that son, Mikhail. Down in front. Hold the line. That's a stop. Matt Russell. He lost his mother to Lou Gehrig's disease, ALS. So he rolls across the finish line in honor of his mother. He did that back in 2010 at his first professional race. Let's hear it for the one and only Matt Russell.
Here we go. All right, go ahead.
We've got Matt Russell, your Viewsport IRONMAN Lake Placid champion on the professional field. Matt Russell is a hometown race from 2 miles north of here. You had to feel like you were coming through the front door, growing up in your house. I have so many memories here. When triathlon career started here when I was 18 in the Ministry Chai. And I almost here when I was in high school here, so I appreciate all the support. So many great people out there sharing in all the volunteers, and like I said, it's such a good. Well, I was out on the course and you high-fived your son, and all of a sudden you took off like a rocket. I tell you what, that just had to give you some incredible energy. Yeah, I have so much support here. I have a lot of friends and family, and like I said, it's pretty much have to finish the game. Well, you've already qualified for Kona. The guys behind you are fighting for that, and we can't wait to see. You were 6th place last year. Can't wait to see what you do for the USA at Ironman World Championship in Kaprun, Austria.
And it is exactly as we knew it would be. Super emotional. So many memories for Matt Russell and so much crowd support for the hometown hero. Matt Russell really coming full circle in so many ways. That's excellent. So Matt Russell, congratulations, our Viewsport IRONMAN Lake Placid champion. Put your name up there amongst the likes of many greats. Joe Gamble's coming home in second. He's held on for exactly what he came here for, a Kona ticket, and proved to himself that he's back at this distance. And I think that's a special time for Joe Gambles. Also has a young son that he went for it. And I think this is a special day to see Joe, for him to see himself back in contention. A little high five, a little love from the crowd. A shout out again to Sage and Arlo back home, his family that supports him, lets him do what he loves. This, you always got to acknowledge the family that's back home sacrificing time with your person. So he's home in second, and this finish line is so good. I mean, look at that, under the sparks and into history.
Yeah, and Michael, he comes across in a 2:56. As we said, this is a brutal course. And there we go. Arlo. There's Arlo. He is, man, going from battle to as relaxed and vulnerable as you can be, greeting your family across the finish line. Great job, Joe.
Oh, that's incredible. So just the exact same thing. You saw these guys come across satisfied, and they have their wife and sons there waiting for them, and that's incredible. What a great way. And Arlo's like, can I do it? I'd like to run off across. Yeah, he might actually make a little runner. But so this is it, and Mike Riley's going to get a little interaction with the man, Smoking Joe Gambles, from all the way from Tasmania by way of Boulder, Colorado. Let's take it down to the finish.
Race a lot over the world. I think that was one of the best efforts you've ever given at an Ironman distance race.
Yeah, to be honest, I thought I was completely out of it with about 20 miles to go on the bike. Matt Russell put the hammer down and I had no response, and some of the guys went with him, and then when I got a split with 5 miles to go, I was a long way behind Matt, but only 3 or so minutes behind the second place. So I was like, okay. And I just ran.
Marc Duelsen, Germany. Oh, one happy man. Yes, he is. We're going to interview Marc in just 1 second.
And there it is. Look how close. I mean, Duelsen in and out, and we've already got to pan back to Brent McMahon. Obviously, going to be dejected from not having the automatic spot. There's a chance that Duelsen will say no, or that he won't show up at the...
It's got to move you up on the scale in Germany now.
Yeah, I hope so. Many of my training partners are also already qualified for Kona, so I'm the last one, and I'm happy to get a training camp with them, and yeah, third place, I'm so happy.
So it's well worth the trip. Marc Duelsen, everybody, third place here at IRONMAN Lake Placid.
When it comes down to matching your training partners and their accomplishments, he said, we've all trained together. They're going to Kona. I've got to go to Kona. You can imagine to pressure in Germany to be good amongst your peers is quite high.
No doubt.
Another finisher. Let's give it up, James Capparell, for our swim leader.
Look at that.
None other than James Capparell. And guess what? All of you James fans out there that got on early and said, don't count him out, you were right, top 5.
Yeah.
What a solid finish. And he did so by way of a 250.